Well, hey there, kids, and welcome to another episode of Virtual Sunday School. I'm so happy to see you, and I hope you're very excited about this week's lesson because it's about someone very important that we haven't talked about yet. I'm sure you could guess who the most important person in the Bible is. Can you guess? That's right, Jesus. So this story is about Jesus, and I think maybe you could relate to him because this was when Jesus was a little boy, about 12 years old. So I know that's a little bit older than you, but Jesus was around your age when he went to a big festival in Jerusalem. And so you have to know that Jesus grew up in Nazareth with his parents, and he had some siblings. So Jesus and his family and his parents, they went to Jerusalem. They had to travel. Maybe you've traveled in a car before with your parents to somewhere kind of far away. Maybe you had to drive for like an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. Well, guess what? In Jesus' time, they didn't have cars, so they had to walk everywhere. So Jesus and his parents and his family, they walked and walked and walked from their hometown of Nazareth to Jerusalem. So it took a few days to get there, but they were celebrating the Passover festival. Can you guys say Passover? So the Passover was a very important time for the Jewish people because they were celebrating their escape from Egypt. So maybe you know that story, or one day we'll talk about that. But Jesus and his parents, they stayed for a few days in Jerusalem. They were celebrating the Passover festival. Then they decided they were going home. So Jesus and his parents, you have to understand that there were lots and lots of people there. So Jesus maybe had his friends or his siblings around, and maybe he was walking with them, but there was a lot of people walking around with Jesus's family in order to get back home to Nazareth. So when Jesus was walking with his parents, he kind of stayed behind in Jerusalem, and his parents didn't know that. Have you ever gotten lost, maybe in a store, or you kind of ran away from your mom and dad? If you haven't done that before, that means you're a very good boy or girl, but sometimes that can happen. So when Jesus was behind in Jerusalem, his parents started walking without him back home to Nazareth. Oh no! And it was only a few days, or actually maybe like one day, before his parents actually found out, wait a minute, Jesus is not with us. What are we gonna do? You can see his parents were asking everyone. They turned around and they're like, hey, have you seen Jesus? Have you seen Jesus? Wait a minute, Jesus was with us before we left and now he's gone. His parents were very worried about him. I'm sure you can imagine if you get lost from your parents and they are looking around everywhere for you, they're going to be so worried because what if they lost you forever? But what Jesus' parents didn't know is that when they went back, they said, maybe we left him back in Jerusalem where the festival was. Maybe he got lost, or maybe he's with his friends. So they went and started walking back towards Jerusalem. They were probably running at this point because they were very worried about him. So guess what happened? Jesus actually went to the temple of Jerusalem. You see, in the temple, Jesus is there, and he's actually talking with a lot of very important people, the scholars and teachers and the people who were teaching the word, the very important people in the temple. Well, Jesus was talking with them, and they were asking him questions, and Jesus was asking them questions, and he had a very important role because they didn't realize it at the time. But Jesus was the Son of God, God the Father. And so you can see Jesus' parents in the background. They finally found him, and they were so worried. They said, Jesus, don't you know we were looking everywhere for you? Why would you leave us? You must have known that your father and I were going to be so worried about you. I can't believe you left. Why did you leave? But guess what Jesus said to them? He said, didn't you know that I would be in my Father's house? So Jesus is explaining that he was actually the Son of God, and he was sent down to earth as just a human boy. He had to be born as a baby so that he could die on the cross for us later. And maybe later we'll learn a little bit about that and talk about that more. But for now, you have to understand that even Jesus' parents didn't really understand what he was saying. He said, your father's house is the temple. What do you mean? Your father is Joseph right here. But later on, they would understand that Jesus truly was the Son of God, and the Son of God the Father. And Jesus didn't just come to earth to be born and just to have a family and live a life, but he came to grow up and eventually save the entire world from sin and to take us all to heaven, those who believe in him. So this is a very important story because it kind of allows you guys, or it shows you a picture of Jesus as a child. And this is one of the very few stories that we learn about Jesus as a child. But you learn that he is obedient, and even though he left his parents for just a little bit of time, they didn't understand what his real purpose was for being on earth, which was to eventually die for us. And so they knew that they should have known that he was in his Father's house. But even then, when Jesus' parents, Mary and Joseph, they were still so worried about him, Jesus went with them anyways. He knew that he had to be obedient to his earthly parents. So just in that way, you kids will have to be obedient to your parents too. So when they tell you to do something, or they tell you to clean your room, or something like that, or help clean up, or it's time to come down for dinner, you should obey the first time, because that's what Jesus did. His parents probably only asked him one time, okay, Jesus, it's time to come home now, and they listened, and he listened to them. So I hope that's a very important story that you guys learn about, and I look forward to your memory verses if you haven't sent them in already. And we're learning Psalms 1 still, and you guys are doing such a good job. So even if you try to say the verse, Sarah Teach is going to be so proud of you guys, because everyone's trying so hard to memorize the word, and I'm very proud of you, and Jesus is very happy as well when you learn your memory verses, okay? So I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week. I love you. Bye.